In case we have never met, I'm Michael Price, and I want to help you succeed in growing your business.
So you want to work with the U.S. government. That's awesome. The opportunities are huge, but there's a catch. It comes with a pretty serious challenge, a complex maze of cybersecurity rules. Today we're going to demystify this compliance gauntlet. We're going to break down all the acronyms, map out the requirements, and show you the path to turning this whole thing into a real competitive advantage. It seems like a simple question, right? But the answer has massive implications for your business's security, its operations, everything. Because if you want to win those big federal contracts, you've got to be ready to meet some of the toughest cybersecurity standards on the entire planet. And let's be real, the stakes are incredibly high. Failing to comply isn't just some minor setback. It is a critical threat to your business. We're talking about huge financial fines, losing contracts you already have, and doing some serious long-term damage to your reputation that could lock you out of future deals for years. Getting this right isn't just a good idea, it's absolutely non-negotiable. So to help you navigate all this, we've laid out a roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start with why compliance is so key to winning contracts in the first place. Then we'll decode that whole alphabet soup of regulations. After that, we'll climb the CMMC ladder, understand the FedRAMP mandate for all you cloud providers, and finally look at how you can automate your path to success. All right, let's kick things off with the big why. See, compliance isn't just about checking boxes or tedious paperwork. It's your ticket to the game. It's the proof that the government can actually trust you with its sensitive data. It really is the first and most critical step. Okay, now for the fun part, decoding the compliance map. And trust me, it can feel like a real alphabet soup of acronyms at first, but each one has a very specific, very important role to play. First up is FAR, which stands for the Federal Acquisition Regulation. The easiest way to think about this is as the master rule book. It lays out the standard policies for how every federal agency buys goods and services. So if you're doing any business with the federal government, FAR is your starting point. Now, building on top of that, if you're working specifically with the Department of Defense, the DoD, you're going to run into DFARS. This is a supplement to FAR, and it basically adds much more rigorous security requirements, especially when a contract involves sensitive data. So what is the sensitive information? Well, a lot of the time it's something called CUI, or Controlled Unclassified Information. This is government data that isn't technically classified, but it's still sensitive enough that it needs to be protected. The moment CUI shows up in a contract, that's the trigger for all these higher security demands. So how do you protect CUI? That is where NIST SP 80171 comes into play. Think of this as the technical instruction manual. It gives you 110 specific security controls for protecting CUI, and this is the critical part. This NIST standard is the absolute bedrock of the entire CMMC framework that we're about to jump into. Okay, so this table really pulls it all together. You can see how FAR and DFARS are the big overarching procurement rules. Then NIST 80171 gives you the specific security controls for CUI. And as we're about to see, CMMC and FedRAMP then build right on top of all that, requiring formal certification to even get in the door. This right here is your high-level map. All right, let's dive in the big one. One of the biggest quests for any company working with a DoD, the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification, or CMMC. This is the Department of Defense's official framework to make absolutely sure its contractors are secure. CMMC is broken down into 3 levels. Level 1 is the foundation, is for protecting basic federal contract information, and you just need to do an annual self-assessment. Level 2 is where things get serious. This is for protecting CUI. It requires all 110 controls from that NIST standard we talked about, and it needs a formal audit by a third party. And finally, Level 3 is the expert tier for the most sensitive CUI. It builds on Level 2 with even more controls and a government-led audit. So where do you actually report all this stuff? Well, for Level 1 self-assessment, you submit your score to a system called SPRS. But for Level 2, with its formal audits, the results go into a much more robust system called EMAS. So think of SPRS for your annual homework and EMAS for the big formal exam results. Okay, we've talked a lot about CMMC, which applies pretty broadly, But what if you're a cloud service provider or a CSP? Well, in that case, there's another crucial framework you absolutely have to know, FedRAMP. This one is a special mandatory requirement just for you, and there is zero wiggle room on this one. The source material is crystal clear. FedRAMP is a hard requirement. This isn't a suggestion. It's not a best practice. It is a mandate. You must have this authorization before you can offer any cloud services to the federal government. Let me put it another way. FedRAMP is basically the gatekeeper to the entire federal market for cloud companies. No FedRAMP authorization, no entry. That door is completely closed. It is the one essential key to unlocking any business with a U.S. government agency if you're a CSP. Now, what happens if you don't get FedRAMP authorized? Interestingly, you're not going to get hit with legal fines or anything like that, but the business consequences, oh, they're brutal. You can't get new federal contracts. You could lose the ones you already have, and your market is just drastically limited. It puts you in a massive competitive disadvantage. In this market, ignoring FedRAMP isn't a risk, it's a complete barrier to entry. Okay, I know what you're thinking. This is a lot. The complexity can feel completely overwhelming, and the process just eats up resources. So how in the world are organizations supposed to manage this journey without getting lost? Let's talk about a strategic solution. First, let's just call out the elephants in the room, the common roadblocks. Teams struggle with the sheer complexity, the constant monitoring, and the absolute nightmare of trying to gather documentation from dozens of different systems. And on top of all that, one simple mistake, like improperly scoping your environment, can cause massive costly delays. So what's the secret weapon here? What's the strategic advantage that gets you through this? It's one word: automation. The right tools can transform this manual error-prone struggle into a streamlined, totally manageable operation. So how exactly does automation help? Well, it centralizes everything from documentation to real-time security insights so your team is always ready for an audit. It helps manage all those shared controls, prevents those critical scoping errors, and dramatically reduces the manual strain on your team. It basically tackles every single one of the roadblocks we just saw. So after seeing the whole map of this compliance gauntlet, from the CMMC levels to the FedRAMP mandate, the final question isn't just, are you ready? The real question you have to ask yourself is this: is your compliance strategy an engine for growth, or is it the anchor that's going to hold your business back?
A special thank you to MarketUS.com for furnishing us this information. You can reach them at MarketUS.com or call them at 954-636-3232. Before we go, this deep dive was created by the MarketUS.com team. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. It's right below the subscribe link.
If you found this video helpful, please consider donating to helpallvets.org. Thank you.